No one noticed the day she decided to change her life. There was no announcement, no motivational speech, no dramatic goodbye to old habits. Just a quiet Tuesday morning and a woman who was tired of living in chaos. If you had looked at Emma from the outside, you would have said she was fine. She had a job, a small apartment, friends who liked her, a calendar full of commitments. But inside, her mind was loud, her space was cluttered, her energy was scattered in 100 directions. She wasn't failing, she was dissolving. And the worst part? No one could see it. That morning, she woke up late again. Her phone battery was dead, her kitchen was full. Her email inbox had 1,247 unread messages. A bill she forgot to pay blinked red on her laptop screen. She stood in the middle of her living room and felt something unfamiliar. Not panic, not shame, clarity. She realized something simple and uncomfortable. Her life wasn't chaotic because of bad luck. It was chaotic because she had never built structure. And in that moment, without telling anyone, not her friends, not her coworkers, not social media, she made a decision. She would reorganize her life, quietly. Not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, but to breathe again. And what happened next didn't look dramatic from the outside, but inside, everything began to shift. Stay with me, because this is not a story about cleaning a closet. It's a story about rebuilding identity. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, scattered, or stuck, this might be the quiet reset you've been waiting for. If this message resonates with you, write in the comments, "I choose silent discipline." Now let me tell you what Emma did next. Emma didn't start with a new planner. She didn't download productivity apps. She didn't wake up at 5 a.m. or delete all her social media. She started smaller than that. She made one rule: no announcements, no explanations, no external validation. For 7 days, she would reorganize her life in silence. Day 1, she cleaned only her desk. Not the whole apartment, not the entire house, just the desk. She threw away old receipts, dried pens, random papers she had promised herself she would look at later. She wiped the surface slowly, deliberately. When she finished, the space looked almost empty, and something strange happened. Her mind felt quieter. On day 2, she opened her bank app. For months, she had avoided looking at her full financial picture. It made her anxious. But this time, she didn't judge. She just observed. Subscriptions she forgot about, small impulse purchases, late fees. No drama, no self-hate, just awareness. On day 3, she went to bed at the same time, even though she didn't feel tired. She turned off her phone and placed it in another room. It felt uncomfortable. She kept reaching for it like someone missing a limb, but she didn't give in. Day 4, she created a simple list, not a long, ambitious list, just 3 non-negotiable tasks for the day. And she completed them, not perfectly, not quickly, but completely. Day 5, she stopped replying immediately to every message. She answered when she had time, not when anxiety told her to. Day 6, she cooked instead of ordering food. Day 7, she reviewed her week in a small notebook. No one noticed. Her friends still thought she was the same. Her coworkers saw nothing different. Her social media remained unchanged. But inside, something subtle was forming. Control. Not loud control, not rigid control, quiet control. She realized something powerful. Chaos doesn't disappear with motivation. It disappears with systems. And systems don't require applause. They require consistency. By the end of the first week, her life didn't look glamorous, but it felt steadier. And that steadiness was addictive, because for the first time in years, she wasn't reacting to life. She was structuring it. And the most dangerous part? The people around her had no idea she was changing. If you're still here, it means something in you understands this.
Emma used to narrate her life in real time. I'm starting a new routine. I'm cutting unnecessary expenses. I'm finally getting serious. This time it's different. Every time she said those words, she felt powerful. For about 3 days. Then something strange always happened. The energy disappeared. She would tell a friend she was saving money, and that same week she'd say yes to an expensive dinner she couldn't afford. She would announce a new fitness plan, then skip it 2 mornings later. She would declare she was getting organized, then fall back into scrolling at midnight. And each time the failure felt heavier, because now it was public. This time she did something radical. She said nothing. When a coworker invited her out 3 nights in a row, she smiled and said, "I can't tonight," without explaining that she was rebuilding her finances. When her sister joked, "You never stick to plans," Emma didn't defend herself. She didn't argue. She didn't prove anything. She simply continued. That was the shift. She realized something uncomfortable. Talking about change gives you a quick reward, almost the same reward as actually changing. It feels productive. It feels like progress. It feels like identity. But it's counterfeit progress. Emma stopped announcing her goals because she understood a psychological truth. The brain releases satisfaction when others acknowledge your intentions, and that satisfaction can replace action. So she made a private rule: results first, words later. She also stopped oversharing her weaknesses. In the past, whenever she felt overwhelmed, she would vent to anyone who would listen. Sometimes she needed support, but often she was just reinforcing a story. "I'm bad with money. I'm not disciplined. I always mess things up." The more she said it, the more it became her identity. Silence forced her to confront something deeper. If she wasn't telling others who was she becoming? In week 2, she implemented something small but powerful: a daily closeout. Every night before bed, she wrote down what she spent, what she completed, what she avoided. No judgment, just facts. And something became obvious. Her problem wasn't income, it was leakage. Subscriptions she forgot, delivery fees, convenience spending when tired, tiny emotional purchases after stressful days. She didn't need to earn more, she needed to plug the leaks. That realization alone shifted her posture. She also created 3 simple buckets: needs, future, freedom. Before spending anything, she asked, which bucket does this belong to? If it didn't fit clearly, it waited 24 hours. Most things never survive the waiting period. By the end of week 3, she had something she hadn't had in years: clarity. And clarity is dangerous, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Her life wasn't chaotic, it was undirected. And direction doesn't require noise, it requires structure. She still hadn't told anyone, and that silence was becoming her strength. By week 4, Emma understood something. Organizing her life wasn't about cleaning rooms or tracking money. It was about identity. She didn't need better motivation. She needed a new internal standard. So she created 1 rule. Not 10 rules, not a complicated system, just one. I decide before the moment decides for me. That sentence changed everything. Before spending, she decided in advance how much each week was allowed for personal wants. Before her paycheck arrived, she assigned it to 3 buckets: 60% needs, 20% future, emergency plus investments, and 20% freedom, joy without guilt. Before someone asked her for a favor, she decided how many evenings per week were protected for herself. Before she opened social media, she set a timer. No more reacting, no more just this once. She understood something powerful about discipline. Discipline isn't intensity, it's pre-decision.
When you decide in advance, you remove negotiation, and negotiation is where most people lose. She also implemented a silent money habit. Pay yourself first. The moment her paycheck hit her account, 20% moved automatically into her future bucket. Not at the end of the month, not if there's something left. First. It felt uncomfortable the first time. Her checking account looked smaller, but her anxiety felt smaller too, because for the first time, her future wasn't dependent on leftovers. It was protected. She added one more microsystem. Every Sunday evening, she reviewed her 3 buckets. No self-criticism, just adjustments. If she overspent in freedom, she didn't punish herself. She recalibrated. If needs increased one week, she trimmed the next. The structure wasn't rigid. It was intentional. And slowly, something deeper shifted. She stopped seeing herself as someone trying to get organized. She started seeing herself as a person who operates with structure. Identity follows repeated behavior, and repeated behavior follows clear rules. By month 2, something fascinating happened. She didn't feel tempted the same way, not because she had superhuman willpower, but because the decision had already been made. When friends asked, "Why are you different lately?" she just smiled. She wasn't louder, she wasn't showing off, she wasn't posting productivity quotes. She was calm, and calm is what control looks like. Her apartment wasn't perfect, her bank account wasn't huge, but her systems were stable, and stability creates momentum. What started as silence had become structure. What started as discipline had become identity. And identity is hard to break. But the real transformation hadn't happened yet, because life was about to test her.
It happened on a Wednesday. At 3:42 p.m., Emma's phone buzzed. Her company was restructuring. Her department was being reduced. Her role was under review. Those 2 words, under review. 2 years ago, that message would have destroyed her. She would have panicked, called 3 friends, opened a food delivery app, bought something online to calm herself. Then she would have spiraled. But this time, something was different. She didn't react. She paused. She opened her banking app, not with fear, but with clarity. She checked her future bucket. 3 months of expenses. Not luxury money, not comfort for a year money, but breathing room. And breathing room changes how you think. Instead of panic, she felt strategy. That night, she did her daily closeout as usual. Income, stable for now. Spending, within plan. Emotional state, uncertain but steady. She wrote 1 extra sentence in her notebook. My systems are stronger than my fear. The next week, the news became official. Her position was eliminated. She had 30 days. Her coworkers panicked. Some cried in the hallway. Some started blaming management. Some immediately applied everywhere without thinking. Emma felt the fear too, but fear wasn't driving. Structure was. She didn't increase her lifestyle before. She hadn't allowed lifestyle inflation when she got small raises months earlier. Every raise had followed the same rule: more to future, not more to consumption. That decision, made quietly months ago, now protected her. She cut her freedom bucket temporarily. She reduced discretionary spending. She updated her resume. But she did not touch her emergency reserve unless necessary. She treated it like oxygen, only for survival. And something unexpected happened. Because she wasn't desperate, she negotiated better. Because she wasn't frantic, she interviewed calmly. Because she wasn't drowning, she could choose. Within 6 weeks, she had a new position, higher pay, better schedule. Not because she was lucky, because she was stable. And stability is powerful in a world addicted to urgency. On her first paycheck from the new job, she did the same thing she had done in silence months before. 20% moved to future, automatically.
No celebration post, no dramatic speech, just consistency. Her apartment still looked simple. Her routine still looked quiet. But internally, she was no longer the woman who reacted to life. She was the woman who structured it. And here's the truth. The world didn't change for her. She changed how she operated inside it. But the most important part of this story isn't the job. It's what she finally understood.
No one applauded Emma. There was no dramatic before and after, no viral post, no one saying, "You've changed so much." And that was the point. 6 months earlier, her life looked normal on the outside and chaotic underneath. Now it looked normal on the outside, but structured underneath. And that invisible difference changed everything. She still had bills. She still had bad days. She still felt fear sometimes. But fear no longer controlled her decisions because systems were in place before emotion arrived. That is what people misunderstand about transformation. They think change looks loud. They think growth looks dramatic. They think discipline feels powerful. Most of the time, it feels boring. It feels like saying no when no one is watching. It feels like moving money before you see it. It feels like turning off your phone without telling anyone why. It feels like tracking expenses on a Tuesday night when you'd rather escape. But repetition builds identity, and identity builds stability. Emma didn't become rich overnight, but she became something more valuable, predictable to herself. She trusted her own decisions. When temptation appeared, she didn't negotiate. When stress appeared, she didn't implode. When opportunity appeared, she was ready. Because her life was no longer driven by impulse, it was driven by structure. She also learned something deeper. Silence protects growth. When you announce every plan, you invite opinions, pressure, comparison. When you move quietly, you build privately, and private foundations are stronger. Months later, a friend asked her over coffee, "How did you become so calm?" Emma smiled. She didn't explain the buckets. She didn't describe the daily closeout. She didn't give a speech about discipline. She simply said, "I stopped reacting." That was the truth. She stopped reacting to money, stopped reacting to invitations, stopped reacting to fear, stopped reacting to boredom. She started deciding in advance. And here is the moral, the one sentence that changed her life. If you organize your decisions before life tests you, life cannot shake you. Everything changed not because she told the world, but because she told herself the truth and acted on it, quietly. Now ask yourself, what would happen if you reorganized your life and told no one? Because sometimes the strongest transformation is the one no one sees coming.